The Pope never caught a fish in his life, yet he built the largest fishing empire in European history. How? One simple rule: no red meat on Fridays. Suddenly, 50 million people needed fish on the same day every week. The North Sea herring became a strategic resource overnight. Empires rose, fortunes were made. Today, we're recreating the dish that changed history: medieval salted herring. Let's be honest, most medieval herring recipes online are modern fantasy. I spent days digging through archives. Here's the awkward truth: medieval people barely wrote recipes. The literate class, monks and nobles, couldn't be bothered to document how to salt a damn fish. That was peasant knowledge, but traces remain. First source: Le Ménagier de Paris, 1393. An elderly Parisian businessman wrote this household guide for his young wife. His instructions for salted herring: soak overnight to remove excess salt, then grill over coals or fry in butter. Serve with mustard. Second, a boke of cookery, 15th century England. It describes white herring, fish poached in almond milk with ginger, sugar, and salt. But the real gold? Hanseatic League trade records from the 1200s. Not a recipe, but a complete industrial process. Herring must be gutted within 4 hours of catch. Layer with coarse salt in oak barrels. Seal for 3 weeks. Drain brine, add fresh salt, then ship. That's our blueprint. First, the fish. Medieval gold standard was North Sea herring, specifically the autumn schools migrating through the Scania Strait off southern Sweden. Fat, oily, perfect for preservation. Pacific herring works fine as a substitute. Second, salt. This mattered enormously. Northern Europeans used 2 types: Lüneburg rock salt from German mines, coarse, grayish, cheap, or Breton sea salt from France's Atlantic coast, finer, whiter, expensive. Hanseatic merchants discovered the coarse stuff actually worked better. Slower penetration. Didn't turn the flesh to leather. Use coarse sea salt. About 25 to 30% of the fish weight. 3 pounds of herring, 1 pound of salt. Third, an oak barrel. Not just a container, it adds flavor. That's the medieval signature. Picture this: 13th century Scania. Dawn. Your boat returns heavy with catch. Workers swarm the shore, mostly women, called gibbing women. They have 4 hours before the fish spoils. No refrigeration, no second chances. The technique is called gibbing. Legend credits a Dutch fisherman named William Buckles around 1380. Probably apocryphal, but the method was revolutionary. Here's the key: take a small, sharp blade, a gibbing knife, and cut through the throat. Remove the gills and most organs in one motion, but leave the pancreas. This tiny organ releases enzymes during curing, gently digesting the flesh, making it tender and complex. Modern science calls it trypsin. Medieval fishermen just knew. Leave that bit in, tastes better. That enzyme is what separates medieval salted herring from ordinary cured fish. Once you've gutted the fish, it's time to pack them. Layer 2 centimeters of coarse salt on the barrel bottom. Arrange herring neatly, backs down, bellies up. Leave gaps for salt penetration. Cover completely with salt. Another layer of fish, more salt. Repeat until full. The final layer must be thick salt. That's your barrier against air and oxidation. A standard medieval barrel held 900 to 1,000 fish. The Hanseatic League regulated everything: fish count, salt ratio, barrel dimensions. Non-compliant barrels were seized and destroyed. Quality control, 13th century style. Now seal the barrel and wait. Store somewhere cool. Wait 3 weeks. Salt draws out moisture while suppressing bacteria. The flesh transforms, pink to grayish white, soft to firm. After 3 weeks, open it. The barrel's full of brine. Drain it. Inspect the fish. Pack in fresh salt. Reseal. Shelf life, 1 year. Think about that. No refrigeration, no preservatives. 1 year. You could catch herring in September and sell it in March, Lent season, to monasteries deep in the European interior. Fish stopped being coastal food. It became continental. So how do you actually cook it? For my version, I accelerated the cure. 5 days in a refrigerator produces similar results. Before cooking, soak in cold water for 12+ hours, changing water 2 to 3 times. Skip this and you'll taste nothing but regret and salt. The 14th century ménagère suggests milk instead of water. Produces a more delicate texture. I tried both. Milk is silkier, water is more authentic. Pat dry. Then choose your method. Grilled, most common. No seasoning needed. Grill over coals until skin blisters and chars slightly. About 8 to 10 minutes total. Serve with medieval mustard, ground mustard seeds, vinegar, honey. Milder and sweeter than modern mustard. Pan-fried in butter, for the wealthy. Butter was a luxury. If you could afford to fry your fish in it, you were doing well. Simple. Melt butter, fry until golden on both sides. Add chopped onions if you don't mind eating peasant food. White herring, aristocratic. Make almond milk. Blanch almonds, blend with water, strain. Poach the herring in it for 20 minutes with grated ginger, a touch of sugar, a pinch of salt. This was monastery and noble fare. The whiteness symbolized purity, or so the priests claimed. But to really understand this fish, we need to understand the system that made it necessary. Let's shift from the North Sea to Rome. Around 1000 AD, the Pope controlled souls and stomachs. The math. A devout medieval Catholic couldn't eat red meat on Fridays. Some regions added Wednesdays and Saturdays, during Lent, Advent, and vigils before holy days. Added up, over a third of the year was meat-free. The theology. Red meat was hot. It inflamed passions, aggression, lust, violence. Fish was cold. It purified the soul, brought you closer to God. We now know this is nonsense, but in the Middle Ages, you didn't question church dietary rules. Questioning the church meant heresy. Heresy meant burning. Through controlling what people ate, the church embedded itself in every kitchen, every meal, every day. And that created unprecedented demand. Friday, Lent, 1200 AD. In London, a merchant's wife counts her coins for the fish market. In Paris, the royal chef orders massive quantities of cod. In Vienna, a peasant woman retrieves her precious salted herring from the cellar. In Rome, the Pope himself dines on an elaborate fish stew. 50 million Europeans, same day, all needing fish. That's unprecedented market demand. Problem. Inland regions had no fish. A Swiss mountain farmer was hundreds of kilometers from any coast. A Bohemian woodcutter might never see the ocean in his entire life. Solution. Trade. A vast commercial network emerged. North Sea boats caught fish. Coastal workshops cured it. Ships carried barrels to Baltic and North Sea ports. Overland caravans relayed them to every corner of Europe. And one organization came to dominate it all. The Hanseatic League. At its peak, 200+ member cities. Control of trade routes from London to Novgorod. Their own fleet, their own army, their own legal system. Not a nation, but richer and more powerful than most nations. Their foundation? Salted herring. It started in Lübeck, a small Baltic town with one critical advantage. It sat on the shortest overland route between the North Sea and Baltic. Lübeck merchants realized, control herring, control Europe's fasting day tables. They established monopoly markets in Scania. Every autumn, when herring schools migrated through, fishermen from across northern Europe came to trade. Hanseatic merchants bought at premium prices, applied superior curing techniques, then distributed via their massive fleet. They invented the Hanseatic Standard, strict quality control. Every barrel stamped Hanseatic herring met identical specifications: fish size, salt ratio, curing time, barrel dimensions. Fail the standard? Seized and destroyed. Buy Hanseatic herring in London, Bruges, or Novgorod. Identical quality guaranteed. This was branding, 13th century style. And the wealth it generated made them kingmakers. By the late 1200s, the Hanseatic League controlled over 60% of Northern European herring trade. Their wealth funded fleets and armies. They could negotiate with kings as equals. 1370. The League defeats Denmark in war. The Treaty of Stralsund follows. Its terms? Danish royal succession requires Hanseatic approval. A merchants' guild deciding who sits on a throne. That's the power of herring. And the church? They were in on it too. Monasteries operated their own fisheries. Coastal abbeys caught and cured fish directly. Inland monasteries maintained fish ponds stocked with carp and trout. More importantly, monasteries were major buyers. A mid-sized monastery consumed thousands of salted fish annually. Steady, reliable demand for Hanseatic merchants. Everyone had incentive to maintain the system. The church kept control over daily life through dietary rules. Merchants got guaranteed markets and profits. Fishermen had stable livelihoods. And ordinary believers? They were just consumers, forced to open their purses every Friday for fish shipped from distant northern seas. This system lasted 400 years, until one man changed everything: Martin Luther. 1517, the German monk challenged Rome. The Protestant Reformation that followed didn't just redraw Europe's religious map, it transformed its dinner tables. Protestant churches, Lutheran, Calvinist, rejected Rome's fasting rules. Luther wrote, "Christians are free to eat any food on any day. True fasting is of the spirit, not the stomach." Across northern Germany, Scandinavia, the Netherlands, England, wherever Protestantism took hold, fasting days vanished. People could eat meat on Fridays. They could choose. Result? Market collapse. The Hanseatic League's Northern European monopoly lost half its customers overnight. Protestant families could now buy cheaper, fresher local meat instead of expensive imported fish. The fish trade didn't disappear entirely. Catholic Europe, Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, Poland, still observed fasting days. But the glory days were over. The Hanseatic League, that commercial empire that once dictated terms to kings, faded through the 1600s into historical footnote. Picture it one more time. Friday, 1200 AD. Across Europe, 50 million people picking up their knives, cutting into fish. They didn't know their tables were connected to distant fishing boats on the North Sea. They didn't know every bite added another brick to a commercial empire. They only knew one thing. The Pope said no meat today. Papal power wasn't just written in scripture, it was woven into the nets of North Sea fishermen. That's the story of a salted herring. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe and tell me in the comments, what food should I explore next?